Hello, welcome to this demonstration of the web application known as Interpreter's Office. This is a court interpreter management system for English-speaking judiciary systems. It's an app that was designed for court interpreter management from day one. In other words, this isn't any kind of off-the-shelf product that's been extensively configured or customized to make it work, but rather it's been designed with the single specific purpose of making the staff interpreter's administrative work as efficient and as painless as possible. That's because of the way the project began long years ago when I became a staff interpreter for the federal court at the Southern District of New York in New York City. We started looking for suitable software to replace the antiquated paper and pen methods that we were using, and we found nothing that was even close to adequate. So yours truly set about coding our own solution. In the intervening years, this app has been developed, revised, refined, with plenty of input from my colleagues in the office, to the point where it is polished and powerful enough to deserve your consideration. And that's why I'm pitching it to you. Interpreter's Office is ideal for collaboration and for distribution of your administrative workload among members of a team. Not only is this so within your staff interpreter's office, there's also an interface through which other court employees can log in and manage their own requests for interpreters quickly and conveniently. I should add that this screencast is being recorded about 1 year into the global coronavirus pandemic. And although the app was designed during normal pre-pandemic times, it's proven flexible and adaptable enough to work well under these more difficult circumstances when we have a lot of remote interpreting, proceedings being held via Zoom and the like, and all the attendant logistical challenges. Now, the current version of Interpreter's Office has a couple of features that assume federal court. For example, it expects a docket number to match certain patterns. And the good news is that if you're in federal court, you're good to go. The other good news is that if you're in state court or in some other court system and you're interested in adopting this application, you should contact me so we can discuss it, because it would be easy enough for me to make the necessary adjustments so you can set this up for your local environment. Another attractive feature of Interpreter's Office is the price. As a 100% free and open source product, it is yours to use completely free of charge. You're welcome to download it and install it on your web server, where you can access it with any standard web browser. And the complete source code is publicly available on GitHub. Finally, before we get into the demonstration proper, here's some contact information. My name is David Mintz. You can reach me at david@interpretersoffice.org, and I encourage you also to check out the project website, interpretersoffice.org. So again, please feel free to contact me with any questions at all. So step one is you open your browser and navigate to your installation of Interpreter's Office, like so. And the first thing you'll encounter is a screen that asks you to log in, because of course there's an authentication system. And then you'll come to a sort of administrative control panel. The page where you're going to spend a good deal of your time is this schedule page, which is largely self-explanatory. As you can see, events sorted by time ascending, the who, what, where, when type of information. What I propose to do is kind of walk through this and show you what's accessible from this schedule page, and then circle back and look at it in more detail. So you've got these little buttons here for navigating forward and back by 1 day. Since in the court interpreting world in the United States, you can basically divide everything into 2 languages, Spanish and everything else. So you have the option of filtering for just Spanish or just everything else. In this case, there's only one example of that, or everything. Of course, you've got your little calendar control for navigating to arbitrary dates. This brings you to a screen for adding a new event, which looks like this. But again, we'll come back to this. The red strike through means that the event was canceled belatedly. That's sometimes interesting to know. So we have a couple of those here. When you hit these highlighted links showing the type of event that it is, it brings you to a screen that looks like this, showing you all the details, most all the details regarding that particular event, including its metadata, like who asked for the interpreter and when, and who was the last person to update the record, and so forth. By the way, I should mention that, in case you haven't already figured it out, we're using fake data for demonstration purposes. We don't really have a judge named Judicious or a courtroom deputy named Ronald McDonald. So this little pencil icon, when you hit that, it brings you to the form for editing the event in case you should need to change any of the details around the event. Again, we're going to return to this and look at it in more detail later on. And then let me double back again already. When you are here, you can, I guess as I mentioned, to change any of the details regarding this event. You can also, of course, add or remove interpreters and then save it, like so. But it's such a common case where we need to change the interpreters on something and nothing else that for your convenience you have a thingy here where you can edit the interpreters within the context of the schedule page, like so. Put this person on. Let's say we take that person off, and there you have it. That's a quick overview of this view of the schedule. Another feature I'd like to share with you is what we call notes. It's a sort of digital counterpart of paper post-it notes. It's a very handy method by means of which the staff interpreters can communicate with each other. You can scribble little things that you want people to know about. You can resize it, move it around, and it'll remember the position and the size from page to page. But what's also interesting is that the so-called message of the day that's displayed will change as you change the state of the schedule that you're looking at. We've found this to be a very convenient and effective way for staff interpreters to communicate with each other when they're running in and out of the office on a busy day, or for that matter when they're scattered across different remote locations. You can toggle the visibility on and off by going like this, like this, or like this. And you can edit it, of course, like so. And there's support for what we call Markdown. If you're not familiar with it, it's a sort of shorthand for HTML, so that you can you can format things with basic formatting. And to come out looking like that. But now let's return to the main scheduling page and look at things in a little more detail. So let's suppose your phone rings and it's Bart Simpson calling on behalf of Judge Fred Flintstone to tell you that this event is going to be rescheduled. So you have only to hit that edit icon, and let's say they were going to change it to 3:30. Then you go 3:30. The time is formatted for you automatically. You hit save and you're done. But since we're already here, let me talk about a couple of other things. The judge, when you change judges, it will try to guess the courtroom for you based on your database, how you've recorded which judges in which courtroom. So we'll save you the trouble of that. Cancellation. When something is canceled belatedly, we record the reason why that happened. This is a sort of imperfect system, but it's better than nothing, so that's how that's done. The way we add the name of a defendant to an event is by using this thing. This text field is a search tool, so it triggers an auto completion for you, so we don't have to type any more than necessary. The way you change your mind and remove somebody is like that. If you need to add a name that the database doesn't know about yet, then you click the search icon to force it to try to find it. And when it fails, you're brought to a form with which you can add a new name. Let's use it, spell it like that. Sorry, like that. And there you go. If, however, you decide you wanted to add the acute accent to the E in Jose, there you go. And that's all there is to that. These fields here and here are for storing comments about the event. The difference is that this first one here on the left is viewable by anybody who's authorized to see the interpreter's schedule. But this one, on the other hand, is only viewable by people who have access privileges to modify the interpreter's schedule. So the people who can only see the schedule rather than change it won't even know that these administrative comments or internal comments even exist. So that's how that works. And then you hit save, and it brings you to a screen that shows you the event details and also displays everything that you changed in case you want to be reminded of what you just did and have an opportunity to go back and do something else if you feel the need. So back to the main schedule page, you will see that now this 3:30 event has these comments here, and this icon indicates that there are more comments to be seen by those who have sufficient access privileges. Now, returning to this view again of the event details, repeat. That's handy for adding another event under the same docket number. So for your convenience, the judge, docket number, language, defendants are already there for you. So you have only to let's choose a date and a time, the type of event. Suppose it's a conference. And identify the person who submitted the request. Let's suppose it's our friend Bart again. And when the request came in. And that's enough, I believe. Yes, so it'll accept that. But now returning to the one we were on before. There we are. So that's the repeat function. This email button is for sending emails about this event. We find this extremely useful. This gets a lot of use. It will figure out who the likely recipients are and offer to add them to the email for you. You can also make one of them a two recipients, the other one a blind carbon copy or a regular CC. You can add arbitrary names to the list of people who are getting the message as long as they're in your database. You can actually put an arbitrary email address too, just anybody. You can do that too if you need to. Then you don't have the benefit of auto-completion, but of course it'll accept any email address that looks valid. And then your probable subjects. Let's suppose you want to confirm that the assignment is on. So you can choose to have the template send the email. And this is a little extra note that you can put in optionally. You include the event details by default. You hit send, and it will have dispatched an email to this interpreter confirming the assignment to the event. Delete. That's pretty much self-explanatory. But of course it will present you with a confirmation so you don't do this by accident, and an opportunity to send an informative email to whatever interpreters are assigned. I call this the timeline. It's just a history of everything that's happened under the docket number of the event you were just viewing. This is actually what it does is it takes you to our search page, which allows you to search your database for events matching any of these criteria that you see here in this form. Now returning to the page we were on before, this little green check mark means that somebody has sent a confirmation to that interpreter. This is a feature that my users asked for, so yours truly was happy to provide. And it shows the same little check mark in the schedule as well. But anyway, returning to the events and the event view and these buttons and what they do. We've seen all of these. This is the only one we haven't discussed yet. This is a personal favorite. This is for noting any extra information that you think is relevant and useful to know about not the specific event but about the case. So for example, if a case is particularly sensitive, or suppose it's a high profile case that is attracting a lot of media attention, you can give your colleagues a heads up so they don't get surprised. Sorry, I don't type very accurately. And there's 3 different priority levels, so we go like that, the annotation saved, and return once again. And now it shows us when we view this event, it shows us that there is something further to know about that particular docket number. So that's a summary of all that. Let's return to the schedule page for a moment. You may be wondering, well, this is all fine and well, but do I really have to enter all this data for all this stuff myself? That's what the purpose of this is. There's a whole separate module we call requests, through which users outside of the interpreter's office can log in and manage their own requests for interpreters. And what happens is those requests are stored in separate data storage so that you of the interpreter's office have a chance to take a look at them and say, okay, I guess we need to put this on the schedule. And you go like that and it's done. That's all you have to do. So when we look at the schedule for the date of the event that we just added, you'll see there it is. Your details show that it was requested by Elvis Presley, and isn't that extraordinary? And that it was submitted online. And then if you return to the schedule and you decide, well, I'm going to assign this character to this event, and you save it, then when you go to look at the details, it will invite you to send a notification to the interpreter, because it detects that the event that we're talking about is in the future and that the interpreter has yet to be notified. So you can go like that, and we're back to that email thing again. So in other words, the application is designed to try to help you as much as possible. And we go like that, and then that's done for us. Back to the schedule. We can see that Minzenberger has gotten his email about this event, and that pretty much covers all of your essential features. So that's about enough talking for now. There are other features to discuss. Maybe we'll save those for a separate screencast. I think you've seen most of the most essential core features that you'll be dealing with if you decide to adopt this application for your own use. So let me just leave you with this presentation slide that we began with, so you can take another look at this contact information. Thanks very much for listening.